Yeah, we are going to be bringing you an extra game or two, and it's going to be Joster versus Nalguidan from Argentina as well. We are going to be going into game number 3. Joster, you were there when Joster went to championships, right?
I was.
Yeah, you may. He's a pretty fun-loving guy in general. We've not seen him for a while, though, so this is kind of a return for him from, I think he was spring?
Sounds right.
I think it was spring, yeah.
Citation needed, but it sounds right to me. I'm just annoyed that TJ's been trying for months to break me, and he finally managed, just through weird facial expressions.
Yeah, TJ does have a weird face. Nalguidan, though, very big player in in Argentina, and he actually placed top 8 in Spring Copa America very recently as well. And for those who don't know, the Copa America circuit and tournaments, all the huge tournaments, majors in the South America region, and it's a pretty big deal over there. You may not know a lot about these players. You'll know more if you watch some global games, for example. But those guys...
Good plug.
There you
10
go.
out of 10.
Those players over there take this very seriously. They just don't get exposed to a lot of the other tournaments around the world.
I mean, for a while, the North American players were complaining that they didn't have enough major events to really give themselves the same level of exposure as European players do. Well, for South America, doubly so, right? Like, there are some phenomenal players down there who just don't get a chance to break out, and Nalguidan is going to give himself the maximum chance here, 2-0 up in this series. What can you tell us about the opening skirmishes of this series, Raven? What happened in the first 2 games?
Yeah, so in the first 2 games overall, we had an actual loss. It was a Warrior versus Paladin match. Joster's Warrior versus Nalguidan's Paladin. He ended up taking that. And then it was Paladin from Joster as he switched over to it, and Nalguidan won with his Shaman, which is actually that N'Zoth slow control we cast a match earlier of that style of Shaman list as well. So far, Nalguidan's doing really well. Joster's Shaman is banned out, and Nalguidan's Druid was banned out as well. So it's coming down to a good old Taunt Warrior matchup. Yeah,
on paper, these lineups, the way they contest each other, seem very similar to the Amnesiac series we cast in the opener. You've got Joster with a greedy control lineup coming up against Nalguidan, who has an even greedier, even more control-y lineup. And so far, this is going to form with Nalguidan taking up the first 2 games and looking in decent shape in the third, honestly, with Curator now to follow all this up.
That's it. Key card on turn 7. Drop the Curator. I'm not going to say refill your hand, but almost, for what kind of value you gain from it. Direhorn, Hatchling, Primordial Drake, 2 super high-value minions in this deck.
Yep.
And this is just going to be, or it looks to be, too much to actually just plow through for Joster at this moment in time.
Very possible, and that is taunt number 4. The Curator itself is for Nalguidan, so with 5, 6, and 7 in hand, that is quest completion locked up for him, and Joster potentially just playing a little bit of catch-up here. He does have Stonehill Defender of his own, though, to help push him over the line.
Yeah, and what's important as well is these taunts line up with the next 2 turns. It can be Drake this turn, it can be the Hatchling and the Bloodtooth the turn after. Okay, so
Direhorn Matriarch going into the deck for Joster, and now does have that Stonehill Defender to help pick him up additional taunts. Primordial Drake does help him pick through some of this board state, but he will lose his own Ali Armorsmith in the process if he wants to go through the opposing Primordial Drake. Not sure where his quest counter is at just yet. It's annoyingly obscured when he plays the taunt minions. Hopefully we can get that information for you very soon.
Yep. We'll get that checked. But we will find out pretty soon ourselves, worst case scenario.
Exactly.
So the Hatchling now is going to come down. As I said, this just lined up for Nalguidan straight away, just to turn 8 into a combo turn 9 mana piece. There is Sulfuras, Hand of Ragnaros.
4 of 7 for Joster in this position, so a long way off. The Stonehill Defender is not going to be quick enough to get him over the line, and Nalguidan is just going to ride Sulfuras tempo all the way to the bank in this spot.
Yeah, we've actually cast a few matchups like this where someone gets very far ahead in terms of the weapon, and the opponents can sometimes bring it close. But those... Yeah, the Japan game in Global Games.
This far ahead?
I was going to say,
okay.
It wasn't quite this far ahead, and even when you have that opportunity, those matchups are few and far between, right?
Agreed, yeah.
Normally, if you get the weapon this much quicker than your opponent, you are just done. I mean, best case scenario for Nalguidan here is just the weapon, the swing into the 4-4, hero power into the 4-8. Let's win this game. see where Raganos...
Can just guarantee banking the 8 to face if he wants here. He has 5 mana available for Ravaging Ghoul Execute to go perfectly along with this hero power. And again, this is a very, very clear pattern that we saw in a previous series as well, where the player who hit Sulfuras first wasn't messing around with 50-50s. He was just clearing the minion every single time and making sure that damage nailed face.
Well, actually, that's one of the ways you can let yourself lose the game to a large extent. If you let your opponent potentially, you keep hitting minions, for example, and then your opponent catches up, gets Sulfuras and keeps hitting face, or clears your minions quicker. That is one of the things that you can actually lead to a comeback in terms of this matchup specifically. But Joster, I feel, is just too far behind.
Oh dear.
None of these pickups are what you're really after. None of the high-value taunts you're looking for from Stonehill as the warrior. And even Stonehill itself, this is another key we were talking about. Sulfuras just being able to remove a minion for 2 turns is huge, and make those 8 damage hero powers not have to rely on, is it going to hit this minion or is it going to hit that minion?
Yeah.
No, it 100% does 8 damage to face. It's a buffed hunter hero power.
It's actually a really, clutch decision as to whether you to make this quest a weapon. The other quests being minions or spells, this one specifically being a weapon. It being a weapon, as you mentioned, just plays so well with the effect that it gives you, because you can clear the way of a couple of small to mid-sized minions and make sure you're getting really favorable positions time after time for your Die Insect hero power.
Yeah, and what Nalguidan's done now is set up this point where Brawl, he actually just doesn't care what lives, because he can kill every minion that's alive and guarantee another 8 to face if he really wants to. And I'd be surprised if he didn't, because all it is pushing him closer and closer to his hero power, just taking out Joster, just next turn. Great. And look at the health. There's 27 for Nalguidan. Joster's almost got no chance here.
Yeah, and crucially, he could have gone Ghoul Sleep with the Fishes and achieved almost the same thing, but that would have allowed the Armor Smith to start picking up armor, which, as you can see, the Armor Smith gained 1. If it had gained 3, potentially, then that starts putting him into a little bit of a comfort range where maybe he could play Sulfuras and get away with it. He still does get there because the Armor Smith survives, giving him that 1 extra point of armor that he needs to be able to play Sulfuras safely here and be at 9, but having to jam into the 1/4 throws that right down the toilet.
I actually wondered whether there was a Ghoul Execute going on that Stonehill to not
possible.
take the 1 damage, right? It sounds quite ridiculous, but that 1 extra turn, if it keeps you alive long enough to play more minions and make that hero power miss, I say miss, not hit base every turn. Nalguidan's going to go for it. Hits
the Armor Smith, but just delaying the inevitable for now. Not a big deal from Nalguidan's perspective. He is in a very, very comfortable spot, and especially now that Joster has been forced to equip the Sulfuras himself, he knows that he only needs a couple of shots from this position.
Yeah, this is rough. Even with that Armor Smith coming down from Nalguidan, all that's doing is pushing Nalguidan further away from being killed, by Joster at this point.
Right.
Bloodtooth Brave is going to be able to challenge this Harrison, but now Ghoul, Whirlwind, he can remove it very, very easily indeed. Probably starts off with... I was wondering whether he starts with the hero power that turn. Because he's already seen shield block. He's already seen one of them, at least.
From Joster?
Yeah.
Has he?
I think so. I think he played one earlier.
Okay.
So if you've seen shield block, then you can just guarantee 5 to face at minimum, because you hero power down the taunt. Sure. And then you hold another minion. You can play more minions after that. I mean, don't get me wrong. You're still putting him to 1 this turn.
Right. I guess the point you try and make is hitting him for 5 or hitting him for 8. It's basically the same thing in that spot. So
you could just have a healthier Harrison.
Right. I can kind of get behind you in that.
I'm clutching at straws, to be completely honest, in terms of...
and I mean, when a game is this one-sided and this over, those straws are about all we have to clutch at. So we might as well do it.
Yeah. Still interesting plays, right? Even when you're this far ahead, there are different routes to a victory, and something is worth considering discussing. But Nalguidan just nails it, going straight to the face with that hero power.
He had the nice, honest, fiery war axe to connect, and he still had to end the game with a scumbag 50-50 instead.
I loved it.
Okay.